Is a cultivar of a native plant as ecologically productive as the straight species? It's a good question. And it's a very important question because when you go to the nursery and try to buy a straight species, typically it's a cultivar. Nurseries carry very few straight species at this point. First of all, there's been very few studies on this. I can think of two. One was ours. We looked at 6 different traits that revolved around everything but flowers on a plant. So the plant's height, the foliage color, berry size, disease resistance. This was all with woody plants. We did them and we planted them all in a common garden where we had the cultivars right next to the straight species and then measured for 3 years insect use of both the cultivars and the straight species. The only trait that consistently reduced insect use of leaves was taking a green leaf and changing its color, making it red or purple. That adds anthocyanins to the leaves and it discouraged insect use. Another trait we looked at was leaf variegation. To my surprise, that did not decrease insect use because that's not adding a feeding deterrent to the leaf. What it's doing is removing chlorophyll. So it's reducing the nutritional value of the leaf, but it doesn't discourage insect use. So we did not look at the long-term impacts of an insect being forced to feed on variegated leaves over the course of its life. My prediction is that it would reduce the fitness of that insect. They probably would be smaller. They probably would lay fewer eggs. That was not part of our study. It'd be an interesting study to pursue, but it didn't deter insect use. So variegated leaves had as much damage as regular green leaves. But traits like taking a tall plant, making it short, which is a common cultivar trait because many of our natives are a little long and leggy and too big for a small landscape. So if you can make them smaller, more people will use them. It didn't have any impact at all. Introducing disease resistance didn't have any impact. Enhancing fall color, increasing berry size didn't have any impact on insect use, although there is anecdotal evidence that it discourages bird use. When you make the berries too big for the birds to swallow, then they don't swallow them. That's anecdotal, so don't quote me on that. I will repeat, my biggest beef against cultivars is that most of them are propagated clonally, so they have 0 genetic variability. So when we load the landscape with plants with 0 genetic variability, we are doing exactly the opposite of what we need to do in order to get plants that can handle the dramatic changes of climate change. We need as much genetic variability as possible. So when you get extreme climate events, some of those plants will be able to handle them. And the reason that that you're only being sold cultivars, it's all about aesthetics. The nursery industry still thinks that plants are just decorations and that you're only looking for a pretty plant, and they keep changing plants to give them landscape value. That's a little extreme because introducing disease resistance is certainly something we need to think about. And making these compact plants makes them more usable. But I would love to see nurseries carry more straight species, and they will if you, as the public, start asking for them, demand them. Go and say, I want to buy a goldenrod straight species. Any one of I think there's 91 species of goldenrods in the U.S. I want to buy a goldenrod, and they have a cultivar. I say, well, I'm not going to buy the cultivar. And if enough people say that, if you leave and not buy anything else, they will start to carry the straight species. They just want to sell plants. They are convinced there's not a market for them. So you have to convince the nursery industry that there is a market for them.